Ladies and gentlemen, there are moments in life when it feels as though everything has slipped through your hands. Dreams you once held tightly, opportunities you prayed for, relationships you believed would last forever, and even the peace that once filled your heart. You look around and see the empty spaces where something meaningful used to be, and deep within you a quiet question rises, will I ever recover what I've lost? But I want you to understand something powerful today. Loss is not the end of your story, and what God restores is never equal to what was taken. It is always greater. There is a divine principle that operates beyond human understanding. When something leaves your life under God's watch, it is never wasted. It may feel painful, it may feel unfair, and it may even seem irreversible, but heaven keeps a perfect record. Every tear you've cried, every sacrifice you have made, every silent battle you've fought, none of it is ignored. God is not only aware of your losses, He is actively working on your restoration. And when He returns what you lost, He does so with increase, with purpose, and with undeniable evidence of His faithfulness. Sometimes what you lost was not meant to stay because it was too small for where God is taking you. You may have cried over doors that closed, not realizing those doors were limiting your future. You may have held on to people who walked away, not understanding they were not equipped to walk into your next season. What feels like loss is often divine protection in disguise. God sees what you cannot see. He knows what lies ahead, and He will not allow anything to remain in your life that cannot support your destiny. But let's be honest. It's hard to trust when you're in the middle of loss. It's difficult to believe in restoration when everything around you feels broken. This is where faith becomes more than just a word. It becomes your lifeline. Faith says, even though I don't understand, I will trust. Faith says, even though I can't see it, I believe God is working. And it is in that quiet, steadfast trust that something extraordinary begins to happen. God starts preparing your return. You see, God is not just in the business of giving back what was lost. He multiplies it. When He restores, He does not simply replace, He upgrades. What you had before cannot compare to what is coming. The joy you lost will return deeper. The peace you lost will return stronger. The opportunities you missed will come back greater. This is not wishful thinking. This is the nature of divine restoration. There are seasons when God allows you to be emptied so that He can refill you with something better. If your hands are full of what you lost, you cannot receive what He wants to give. So sometimes He allows life to remove things, not to harm you, but to prepare you. Preparation often feels like loss, but it is actually positioning. You are being aligned for something greater than you can imagine. Consider the times you thought it was over, the moments you believed you would never recover, and yet here you are. You survived. You made it through. That alone is proof that God is not finished with you. If He carried you through the loss, He will certainly bring you into restoration. He does not abandon what He begins. Your story is still being written, and the chapter of restoration is on its way. But there is something you must do in the waiting. You must guard your heart against bitterness. It is easy to become resentful when you feel wronged. It is easy to hold on to anger when you feel something was taken from you unfairly, but bitterness blocks restoration. You cannot receive what God has for you if your heart is weighed down by what happened. Let it go, not because it was right, but because you are trusting God to make it right. You must also remain faithful in the small things. When everything seems lost, it is tempting to give up, to stop trying, to withdraw from purpose, but your consistency in difficult seasons is what positions you for greater blessings. God watches how you respond when things don't go your way. He sees your faithfulness, your patience, your endurance, and He rewards it in ways that exceed your expectations. There is a timing to everything God does. Restoration does not always come immediate, but it always comes at the right moment. And when it does, it will be so clear, so undeniable that you will know it could only have been God. What took years to lose can be restored in a moment. What seemed impossible can suddenly become reality. That is the power of divine intervention. You may have lost time, but God can redeem time. You may have lost opportunities, but God can create new ones. You may have lost relationships, but God can bring the right people into your life. Nothing is beyond His ability to restore. Nothing is too broken for Him to fix. Nothing is too far gone for Him to bring back. And here's the beauty of it all. When God restores, He does it in such a way that your past pain becomes a testimony. The very thing that hurt you becomes the evidence of His goodness. The loss that once brought you to tears becomes the story that inspires others. You will look back and realize that what you thought was the end was actually the beginning of something far greater. So hold on, even when it's difficult, even when you don't see anything changing. Hold on to the truth that God is working behind the scenes. He is aligning circumstances, preparing opportunities, and arranging moments that will bring your restoration to life. What you lost is not gone forever. It is being transformed, multiplied, and prepared for its return. And when it comes back into your life, it will not look the same. It will be better, stronger, and more aligned with your purpose. You will not just recover, you will rise. You will not just recover, you will rise. You will not just regain, you will overflow. And in that moment, you will understand that every loss had a purpose, every delay had a reason, and every tear was leading you to something greater than you ever imagined. What feels like loss in your life right now may actually be one of the most important moments of preparation you will ever experience. It doesn't look like preparation, it doesn't feel like preparation, and it certainly doesn't seem like anything good could come from it. When something valuable is taken away, whether it's a relationship, an opportunity, a dream, or even your sense of stability, your first reaction is pain, confusion, and sometimes even doubt. You begin to question why it happened, what you did wrong, and whether things will ever be right again. But there is a deeper truth that often goes unnoticed in these moments. God is not removing something to leave you empty. He is making space for something greater. There are times when what you are holding on to is actually limiting where you are meant to go. You may see it as something precious, something necessary, something you cannot live without, but God sees the full picture. He knows the future you cannot see, and He understands that certain things cannot go with you into the next season of your life. So in His wisdom, He allows them to be removed, not to harm you, but to prepare you. Preparation often feels like loss because it requires letting go, and letting go is never ease. They think about how growth works. In order for something new to grow, something old often has to be cleared away. A seed must be buried before it can rise. A tree must be pruned before it can produce more fruit. In the same way, your life goes through seasons where things are stripped away, not because you are being forgotten, but because you are being refined. It is in these moments that your character is strengthened, your faith is deepened, and your dependence on God becomes more real than ever before. It is also important to understand that not everything you lose is meant to be recovered in the same form. Some things are removed because they have already served their purpose. Holding on to them would only delay your progress. You may not realize it now, but there are situations you have outgrown, environments that can no longer support your growth, and people who cannot accompany you into your next level. What feels like rejection is often redirection. What feels like an ending is often the beginning of something far more significant. During these seasons, it is easy to become discouraged. You may look at your life and feel like you are going backward instead of forward. You may compare where you are now to where you used to be and feel a sense of loss that is difficult to explain. But progress is not always visible. Sometimes the most important work is happening beneath the surface where no one can see it, not even you. God is working on things that are not immediately apparent. He is aligning circumstances, shaping your mindset, and preparing opportunities that will reveal themselves at the right time. There is also a lesson in learning to trust beyond what you can understand. When everything makes sense, trust is easy. But when life becomes uncertain and things fall apart, trust becomes a choice. It is in these moments that your faith is truly tested and strengthened, choosing to believe that there is purpose in your pain, that there is meaning in your loss, and that there is something better ahead, even when you cannot see it, is what positions you for what God is about to do. You must resist the urge to define your situation by what you have lost. Loss does not define you. It does not determine your future. It is simply a season, and seasons change. Just as winter does not last forever, neither does the season of loss. There is a time coming when what feels empty will be filled again, but it will not be filled with the same things. It will be filled with better things, things that are more aligned with who you are becoming. Another important aspect of this preparation is the development of resilience. When everything is going well, it is easy to feel strong. But true strength is developed when you go through challenges and still choose to stand. Every loss you endure and overcome adds to your ability to handle greater responsibility, greater blessings, and greater influence. God is not just preparing things for you. He is preparing you for the things He has planned. You may not realize it now, but if everything you had before remained the same, you might never step into the fullness of your potential. Comfort can sometimes become a barrier to growth. When everything is stable, there is little motivation to change, to stretch, or to pursue something greater. But when something is taken away, it forces you to reevaluate, to adapt, and to move forward in ways you never thought possible. What feels like disruption is often the push you need to step into your next level. It is also during these times that your priorities begin to shift. You start to see what truly matters and what does not. You begin to focus less on temporary things and more on lasting values. Your perspective changes, and with that change comes a new sea-ness of clarity. You begin to understand that your worth is not tied to what you have, but to who you are and whose you are. Even though it may not feel like it, this season is not meant to break you. It is meant to build you. Every challenge, every disappointment, and every loss is shaping you into a stronger, wiser, and more prepared version of yourself. And when the time comes for restoration, you will not only receive more than what you lost, but you will also have the capacity to sustain it. Right now, it may feel like something has been taken from you, but in reality, something has been built within you. Something stronger, something deeper, something that cannot be easily shaken, and that inner transformation is what makes the outward restoration possible. There is something deeply comforting and powerfully transformative in understanding that when God restores, He does not simply return what was lost in its original form. His nature is not to give back in equal measure, but to increase, to multiply, and to elevate. Human thinking often expects replacement. If something is taken, we hope to receive something similar in return, but divine restoration does not operate on human expectations. It goes beyond replacement and moves into abundance, where what comes back into your life carries more value, more purpose, and more impact than what was lost. When you reflect on the losses you have experienced, it is easy to focus on what is no longer there. The mind replays what could have been, what should have happened, and what should have happened, and what you wish had turned out differently. But God's plan is not tied to your past. It is anchored in your future. He is not limited by what you lost. In fact, He uses those very losses as the foundation upon which something greater is built. What you once held may have been good, but what He is preparing will be better in ways you cannot yet fully unbid. It is important to recognize that what you had before may not have had the capacity to carry the level of blessing that is coming. Sometimes what we lose is too small for the vision God has for our lives. It may have fulfilled a role for a season, but it cannot sustain the weight of what is ahead. So instead of simply restoring the same thing, God expands it. He takes what was once limited and replaces it with something that has room to grow, to flourish, and to endure. Consider how this applies to different areas of life. If you lost peace, what God restores is not just a return to calmness. It is a deeper, unshakable peace that remains even in the midst of uncertainty. If you lost joy, What comes back is not temporary happiness, but a lasting joy that is rooted in something far greater than circumstances. If you lost opportunities, the ones that come will not just match the old ones. They will open doors you never imagined possible. There is also a refining process that takes place between loss and restoration. During this time, God is shaping your perspective, strengthening your character, and preparing your heart. Without this process, you may not be ready to handle the increase that is coming. Greater blessings require greater maturity. Expanded opportunities require deeper wisdom. So while it may feel like nothing is happening, there is actually a transformation taking place within you that is essential for what lies ahead. One of the most challenging aspects of this journey is waiting. Waiting can feel like stagnation, like nothing is moving, like your life is on hold. But waiting is not wasted time. It is in the waiting that God aligns everything perfectly. He is not only preparing what will be given to you, He is also preparing the timing so that when it arrives, it fits perfectly into your life. If restoration came too early, you might not recognize its value. If it came too late, you might have already settled for less. But when it comes at the right time, it brings a sense of clarity and fulfillment that confirms it was worth the wait. You may also notice that when God restores, He often does it in unexpected ways. It may not come through the same people, the same places, or the same circumstances. In fact, it often comes through entirely new paths that you had not considered. This is because His vision is broader than yours. He is not confined to your expectations. He sees possibilities that you cannot see and creates opportunities that you could never orchestrate on your own. Another powerful aspect of divine restoration is that it carries a sense of permanence. What God gives is not easily taken away. It is established, secure, and rooted in His purpose. Unlike the things you may have lost, which could be influenced by circumstances or people, what He restores is anchored in something greater. It is not fragile. It is fortified. This means that the peace, the joy, the relationships, and the opportunities that come from Him are built to last. There is also a testimony within restoration. When you receive more than what you lost, it becomes evident that something beyond human effort has taken place. It becomes clear that this is not just the result of chance or coincidence, but the work of a faithful God. Your story then becomes a source of encouragement for others who are going through their own seasons of loss. They see in you the evidence that restoration is real, that increase is possible, and that what feels like the end can truly become a new beginning. It is essential, however, that you remain open to receiving what God has for you. Sometimes people become so attached to what they lost that they fail to recognize what is being given. They hold on to the past so tightly that they miss the future unfolding before them. Letting go is not about forgetting. It is about making room. It is about trusting that what is ahead is worth releasing what is behind. Gratitude also plays a significant role in this process. Even before you see the restoration, choosing to be thankful shifts your perspective. It moves your focus from what is missing to what is coming. It strengthens your faith and aligns your heart with God's promises. Gratitude is not dependent on circumstances. It is a reflection of trust. And that trust creates an environment where restoration can flourish. You may not know how or when it will happen, but you can be certain that it will happen. God is faithful to complete what He starts. He does not leave things unfinished. The losses you've experienced are not the final chapter of your story. They are part of a greater narrative that leads to increase, to overflow, and to a level of blessing that goes beyond anything you have known before. What is coming into your life will not just fill the space of what was lost. It will expand it. It will bring new depth, new meaning, and new possibilities. And when you look back, you will realize that if you had not lost what you did, you would never have gained what was waiting ahead. In every season of difficulty, your response matters more than the situation itself. It is not the loss, the delay, or the disappointment that ultimately determines your outcome, but how you choose to respond in the middle of it. Faith is not proven when everything is going well. It is revealed when life becomes uncertain. When you cannot see the outcome, when you do not understand the process, and when you feel the weight of what you have lost, that is when your faith begins to take on real meaning. It becomes a conscious decision to trust, even when trust feels difficult. There will be moments when your emotions try to take control. Old fear will whisper that things will never get better. Doubt will try to convince you that what you lost is gone forever. Frustration will push you toward giving up. These emotions are real, and they can be overwhelming, but they're not meant to guide your decisions. Faith requires you to rise above what you feel and hold on to what you know, that God is still in control, that His plans are still intact, and that your story is not finished. One of the greatest challenges in difficult seasons is maintaining the right attitude. It is easy to become negative when things do not go your way. It is easy to complain, to question, and to focus on everything that is wrong. But your attitude shapes your perspective, and your perspective influences your ability to recognize what God is doing. A negative mindset can blind you to opportunities, while a faithful mindset keeps your heart open and ready to receive. Choosing the right attitude does not mean pretending that everything is fine. It does not mean ignoring your pain or denying your struggles. It means acknowledging what you are going through while still choosing to trust that something greater is happening. It means saying, "This is difficult, but I believe there is purpose in it." That kind of mindset creates strength. It builds resilience. It keeps you moving forward, even when the path is unclear. Another critical part of positioning yourself for restoration is letting go of bitterness. When you experience loss, especially if it involves other people, it is natural to feel hurt. You may feel betrayed, misunderstood, or treated unfairly. Those feelings can easily turn into resentment if they are not addressed. But bitterness is like a weight that holds you back. It keeps you tied to the past and prevents you from stepping fully into the future. Letting go of bitterness is not about excusing what happened or pretend it did not matter. It is about freeing yourself. It is about choosing peace over pain, growth over resentment, and faith over frustration. When you release bitterness, you create space in your heart for healing, for clarity, and for the new things that God wants to bring into your life. You cannot carry both bitterness and blessing at the same time. One will always limit the other. Faithfulness in small things is another powerful way to position yourself for what is ahead. When you feel like you have lost so much, it can be tempting to withdraw, to stop trying, and to lose motivation. You may think, what's the point? But every small act of faithfulness matters. The way you handle your daily responsibilities, the way you treat others, the way you continue to show up, even when you do not feel like it, all of these things are seen, and they matter more than you realize. Consistency in difficult seasons builds a foundation for greater things. It shows that your commitment is not dependent on circumstances. It proves that you are willing to stay steady even when life is unstable. This kind of faithfulness develops discipline, character, and strength, qualities that are essential for handling greater blessings. What you do in the quiet, unseen moments is preparing you for the visible, impactful moments that are coming. Trusting God also means releasing the need to control everything. When life feels uncertain, the natural reaction is to try to take control, to figure everything out, and to force things to happen. But not everything is within your control, and trying to manage every detail can lead to frustration and exhaustion. Faith involves surrender. It means doing your part while trusting God to handle what you cannot. Surrender is not weakness, it is strength. It takes courage to let go and trust that things will work out according to a plan you cannot fully see. It requires humility to accept that you do not have all the answers. But in that surrender, there is peace. There is freedom from the pressure of trying to control everything. There is a sense of calm that comes from knowing that you are not carrying the weight alone. Patience is another essential element in this process. Restoration does not always happen quickly. There are times when you will have to wait longer than you expected. In those moments, patience keeps you grounded. It prevents you from making impulsive decisions out of frustration. It allows you to stay aligned with the process, trusting that the timing will all be right while you are waiting. It is important to remain hopeful. Hope keeps your vision alive. It reminds you that what you are experiencing now is temporary and that something better is ahead. Hope fuels your faith and gives you the strength to keep moving forward. Without hope, it is easy to lose direction. But with hope, even the most difficult seasons become manageable. Surrounding yourself with the right influences also plays a significant role. The voices you listen to can either strengthen your faith or weaken it. Being around people who encourage you, who speak truth, and who remind you of what is possible can make a tremendous difference. At the same time, you must be mindful of negative influences that drain your energy and pull you away from your purpose. Everything you are doing in this season, choosing faith over fear, maintaining a positive attitude, letting go of bitterness, staying faithful in small things, trusting, surrendering, and being patient, is positioning you for what is coming. These are not just actions, they are investments. They are shaping who you are becoming and preparing you to receive what God has planned. You may not see immediate results, but that does not mean nothing is happening. Seeds take time to grow, roots develop beneath the surface before anything becomes visible. In the same way, your faith and your attitude are creating a foundation that will support the restoration that is on its way. And when it arrives, you will not only be ready to receive it, but you will also be able to sustain it, appreciate it, and use it in ways that bring lasting impact to your life and to those around you. There's a timing to everything that happens in your life, and that timing is not random, accidental, or careless. It is intentional, precise, and perfectly aligned with a plan that is far greater than what you can see in the present me. One of the most difficult truths to accept is that restoration does not always come when you want it to, but it always comes when it is supposed to. Human nature desires immediate answers, quick solutions, and instant results, but divine timing operates on a different level, one that takes into account not only your readiness, but also the alignment of circumstances, opportunities, and purpose. You may find yourself asking, why is it taking so long? That question often comes from a place of frustration and weariness. You have been patient, you have held on, and yet it feels like nothing is changing. But what you cannot see is that delay is not denial. What feels like a pause in your life is actually a period of preparation. There are things being arranged behind the scenes, details you are unaware of, connections you have not yet made, doors that are being positioned to open at exactly the right moment. If restoration were to come too early, it might not carry the same impact. You might not fully recognize its value, or you might not yet have the capacity to handle it. Timing matters because it ensures that when something arrives in your life, it fits. It complements where you are, who you have become, and what you are ready to receive. Without proper timing, even a good opportunity can become overwhelming or misplaced. But when timing is right, everything flows with a sense of clarity and purpose. There is also a level of growth that must take place within you before certain blessings can be trusted to you. Growth does not happen overnight. It is developed through experiences, through challenges, and through the very delays you are questioning. Each moment of waiting is shaping your perspective, strengthening your patience, and deepening your understanding. You are becoming someone who can not only receive restoration, but also manage it with wisdom and maturity. It is important to realize that while you are waiting, life is not standing still. You are not stuck, you are being positioned. Positioning often feels uncomfortable because it involves change, uncertainty, and movement that you did not plan. But positioning is necessary for alignment. You cannot step into what is ahead if you remain where you were. So even when it feels like nothing is happening, subtle shifts are taking place. You are being moved closer to where you need to be. Sometimes the delay is not about you at all. It may involve other people, other circumstances, or events that need to unfold before everything comes together. There are moments when God is working on multiple pieces at the same time, bringing them into alignment, so that when restoration happens, it is complete and not partial. What you receive will not be missing anything. It will not require you to struggle to make it work. It will come together in a way that feels natural, whole, and undeniably right. One of the greatest challenges during this time is resisting the urge to force things to happen. When you feel like you have waited long enough, it is tempting to take matters into your own hands, to push doors open that are not ready, or to settle for something that is less than what you truly desire. But forcing outcomes often leads to unnecessary complications. It creates situations that lack stability and peace. What is meant for you will not require you to struggle to make it happen in your own strength. Trusting divine timing means believing that what is meant for you will come without you having to compromise your values, your peace, or your purpose. It means understanding that the right opportunities will not bring confusion, but clarity. They will not bring constant struggle, but a sense of alignment. When something is truly meant for you, it will come together in a way that reflects order rather than chaos. Patience becomes your greatest strength in this season. It is not passive waiting, but active trust. It is continuing to move forward, to grow, and to stay prepared while believing that the right moment is approaching. Patience keeps you from making decisions based on temporary emotions. It allows you to remain steady even when everything around you feels uncertain. And in that steadiness, you develop a confidence that is not shaken by delays. There will come a moment when everything shifts. It may happen suddenly, without warning, in a way that surprises you. Doors that were once closed will open. Opportunities you thought were gone will reappear in greater form. Connections will be made that change the direction of your life. And in that moment, you will realize that the waiting was not wasted. It was necessary. It was preparing you for this exact point in time. When restoration arrives at the right time, it carries a sense of peace that cannot be explained. There is no confusion about whether it is right. There is no need to question if it will last. There is a deep assurance that this is what you have been waiting for. It fits in a way that makes sense, even if the journey to get there did not. You begin to see how everything you went through was leading you to this moment. Looking back, you will understand why certain things did not work out when you wanted them to. You will see why certain doors remained closed, why certain paths were blocked, and why certain delays occurred. What once felt like frustration will begin to make sense. You will recognize that if things had happened according to your timeline, you might have missed something far greater. This realization brings a new level of trust. It strengthens your belief that you are not navigating life alone. It reassures you that there is a plan unfolding even when you cannot see it. And it reminds you that every delay, every pause, and every moment of waiting is part of a process that leads to something meaningful and lasting. Your comeback is not dependent on chance. It is secured by timing. It is not fragile or uncertain. It is deliberate and well-placed. And when it finally unfolds, it will not only restore what was lost, and when it finally unfolds, it will not only restore what was lost, but elevate you to a place where you can see that everything happened exactly as it needed to for you to become who you were meant to be. As you reflect on everything that has been said, one truth should settle deeply into your heart. Your loss was never meaningless, your pain was never wasted, and your story is far from over. Every moment of confusion, every tear you have cried, every season where you felt like life was taking more than it was giving, all of it has been part of a process that is leading you somewhere greater. You were never abandoned in your loss. You were being guided through a transformation. What you experienced was not the destruction of your future, but the reconstruction of it. Things had to be removed so that better things could be built. You had to go through the breaking so you could be rebuilt stronger. You had to experience the empty spaces so you could fully appreciate what is coming to fill them. And now, even if you cannot see it yet, everything is moving toward a moment of restoration that will exceed your expectations. There is no need to rush ahead of time, no need to compare your journey with anyone else. and no need to doubt what is already in motion. What belongs to you will find its way to you. What was delayed will arrive at the right time. What was lost will return in a greater, more meaningful form. And when it does, it will not just restore your circumstances, it will renew your confidence, strengthen your faith, and remind you of the power of trusting through uncertainty. So stand firm in this season. Keep your heart open, your faith strong, and your perspective focused on what is ahead rather than what is behind. Refuse to let temporary loss define your permanent identity. You are not standing at the end. You are standing in the middle of a divine process that is still unfolding, because in the end, you will not just recover what you lost, you will rise into something far greater than you ever imagined, and you will see that God didn't just restore your life. He multiplied it beyond measure.